Hello, today we're going to look at the Active Dashboards add-on for Google Maps, which allows you to embed Google Maps within a chart item. We're going to show you how with our own maps you can drill down to a Google map and then to another item. And here we've got a top level Google map where we're using different coloured icons to display different information. We've added a legend that shows what the colours mean on each of those markers, and further as we go you'll find that mouse over works to display not only additional information but also where we can embed one of our own charts. And drilling down from this particular Google map will on a click take us to a new dashboard. On the other map, if we just go back, we can drill from our existing chart to a Google map displaying the relevant information. Again, we have the same mouse over but with data relevant, and this drills down to an item rather than a dashboard. So we're going to discuss and show how all these things work in this video. The first thing you'll need to do is to install the add-on, so let's go and look at that. When you install Active Dashboards, you will find a folder is created at the web app level called add-ons. If you go with here, you'll find various add-ons, one of which is the Google Map. All you need to do is extract that into another folder, which I'm doing now. And this gives you all the install files, and in particular it provides a PDF guide which will tell you how to install the add-on within Active Dashboards. It's very straightforward, and which are required files, some example files, and also how to create the relevant data sources which have to be created in a certain way to enable the add-on to work with your data. Before we start building the charts, I'd like a quick word about the data that Google requires to place the markers on their maps. Google works with latitude and longitude. So if you have postcode data, although it's possible to try and use this, and we do provide an add-on page to use postcodes, you will find that Google limit you severely to 5 lookups per second, which if you have any data at all will soon be used up, particularly if you've got multiple users, and you're only allowed so many conversions, for want of a better word, per day for free. You can pay for the business model and you get a lot more, but you're still limited to 10 per second. So we found that the easiest way is to convert your postcodes to longitude and latitude. You can get longitude and latitude through using Ordnance Survey. We'll provide links at the website whereby you can download all the data for the UK. It's updated every 3 months and is in postcode to northings and eastings. There are then some scripts that you can run. Again, we'll provide links which will convert those into longitude and latitude and place them in a SQL database for you. We can also provide a script that will convert those database tables into a table like the one you're looking at, which is basically our table, which not only changes all the postcodes to longitude and latitude, it also takes the first part of the postcode, which we are going to use so that we can show the number of students per postcode rather than trying to show every single student, and also has our own codes for county and country which we can use in our map. So everything then links in one table, and again we can provide the scripts for this for you. So the first thing we have to do when we come to build our chart is create the data source. Referring to the PDF that's extracted with your add-on, you will find on page 12 the required data and the format of that data, the ordering of that data, and a description, and our SQL must contain those columns at the start. On the left hand side here I'm showing you now the tables I'm using. I'm having to join 2 tables, one which has the number of students and then the second which says data for latitude and longitude is a shortened version of the table I showed you before, which has postcode mapped to latitude and longitude. And so the basic query that we want to write is at its very basic, selecting latitude, longitude, the zoom level, the type of map, whether it's a road or terrain, The image, and at this point I'm just using an image. We could have left this blank and it would have picked up the standard image, but I'm going to use a green dot one. You will find that if you look at where you installed the Google Maps in widgets, in Active Dashboards, there's an images folder, and in there is a subfolder I've created, and within that subfolder are various coloured icons that we're going to use. So back in our query, we just need one of those for the moment. The next part is click info, and that is what is going to pop up. We then have to do the marker and the radius, circle, fill colour, and I guess we're leaving all these blanks, including at this point the legend. And we're pulling that back from those tables, joined on the postcode where the county is London, and then I'm grouping as you normally would. All this I am showing you in Management Studio so that you can see the colour coding. I did in fact write it within Dashboards and could have written it within the Visual Query Builder. As it is, I'm going to create a very simple Google Map now. So we create a simple Google Map data source, and we're just going to paste that SQL in. When we get to the item, we need to add a new item, and as always name it, and then we simply change the chart type from single series to multi-chart, and you'll find that if you've installed Google Maps under multi-chart, you'll find that you have 3 Google Map types for address, for postcode, basically latitude, longitude and the polygon. We're going to choose the latitude, longitude, and the final thing we have to do is choose our data source. So we choose our data source, and if we hit save, you will find the very simple Google Map appearing in the preview. As you can see, it's not very dynamic, it's all green, so we don't know what it does, and any of the hover text is just the postcode, which is what we put as click info. And that's just a simple one. So to make it as we had in the original, we need to go and change a few pieces of our SQL. So the first part we're going to look at is the image, which, if you remember, we had as just a single green dot. So when we look at that part of the SQL, you'll see that it's simply a matter of adding a case statement and mapping the relevant values to the relevant image. You can use your own images, you don't have to use the green dot ones, and you can have as many different case statements as you require to match the number of icons you want to use. In our case, we've kept it fairly straightforward and mapped the relevant ones, and that will now give you different coloured icons based on the different number of students. I'll come back to the click info because that's the more complicated part. The second part I need to look at here is to do with the legend, and the legend basically is another string which maps each icon to some text that describes what the icon does. The important factors are the characters that we use to delimit the various bits of information. So these 2 characters we insert after every image and before the description, and these 2 characters we use to delimit the end of a line. So in other words, everything before that is one of the legend icons, and we simply add an entire string to match every single icon. If you do that, then automatically Google Maps in the add-on will pick this up and create a legend. You can see, using that exact same SQL in a data source, we have a legend that maps to the relevant coloured icons, and it's simply that piece of SQL that is generating that entire legend. The next thing I need to cover is the click info column, which is a string that determines what appears in the pop-up when you mouse over and what is passed when you drill down. So the click info SQL I've broken out into line by line to hopefully be able to go through it with you. The file will be available to download so you can look at all the comments I've made on a line by line basis. Basically it's just one string, and again we're using a particular character combination to determine what is going to be used as a parameter, which is everything before that character combination, and what is to appear in the hover text or the information window, which is everything after those characters. As you will see from the commented string I have here, we utilize HTML tags to bold and paragraph the info window information, and by use of a JavaScript function we can determine where it's going to drill to when you click on it. So basically, using the same character combination we used before, everything before these two characters will be used as the parameter for the click drill down. Everything after it will be used in the info window. And to take you quickly through the code, it's basically setting up a bold tag and then adding in the borough and London and postcode, then starting another paragraph and putting in a subquery. This information might be coming from your data in any event. In my case I had to just do a little subquery from a different table to calculate the total number of students for that particular postcode and the income, and break it down by full-time and part-time students. Let's say this file will be available so you can look at the commented each line of SQL if you want to. By use of the tags we can start the bold, put a break for a new line in, and basically paragraphs wherever we want to add the information. The embedding of an item is basically how you would embed an item in any web page, although this time we're embedding it within the SQL within the web page. See the integration guide by going to the menu in the designer and choosing the integration guide. But basically we simply create an iframe within the string, make sure there's no border or frame border, and make sure that the source is the item page embed with the relevant item ID. And you can find all this from the manual, as I say, but also you'll find the relevant embed ASPX item ID that you're seeing there displayed in the actual item you want to drill to. Now the item we're drilling to, as I'll show you, requires two parameters, so you've got to add into the string and param1 equals, and in that case we're passing the borough, and then we're also adding and param2 equals the postcode. And then we simply close the final string, close the iframe and the paragraph tag, and basically you've got a click info string that, when interpreted by our add-on, will display hover text with some nice formatted text and also the chart, the item that we're trying to embed. As you can see from the results of running that particular piece of SQL, you just get a long string which is interpreted by our add-on to display the relevant information within. So here back in the designer, I've already created a data source with the uncommented code in, and you get the same results as you just saw in Management Studio. But it now allows us to build a chart which will, when displayed, display a legend, multicolored icons and the hover text with an embedded chart. In the items, it's simply creating an item the same way as we did with the simple one, except with, of course, a different data source. I've then added that particular item together with items I previously built to a dashboard. I don't intend going through the entire process, and that dashboard displays, as you saw earlier, with multicolored icons, a legend and relevant hover text when you place your mouse over any particular icon on the chart. If you follow to this point, you will find that your chart item embedded still has its borders, but we'll cover that now looking at CSS and the relevant JavaScript calls for the drill downs. So our next port of call is the web application active dashboards folder within which you will find a custom folder. The custom folder you will have been in earlier to effect the add-on, but we're not interested in the charts subfolder this time, but the CSS folder. Within the CSS folder you will find that there are several files, but the one that we're interested in is customitem.css, which allows us to effect changes to individual items. Open this in Notepad or any other web editing tool, and what we need to do is to target the particular item we require and turn off things like the borders and the header bar. This is done in a particular way. You need to say #item and then the ID of the relevant item, and then the various elements you're turning off we list for you. So this is the item we're using, the London Borough one, and as you can see it uses two particular parameters, as we know, and you will find the ID up here where you found it for your embedding. So if you copy that ID and then take it back to your item CSS file, and simply for every line you would do #item and the ID, and then, as I say, from the files you can download from the website, the particular elements will all be listed for you, and you can simply do that for any item you wish to embed and remove the borders from. It's very straightforward. Chart will no longer have any borders, as in the example here. So the next thing we need to do is to effect the drill down. So in particular, with regard to the drill down from the London Borough map, we want it to drill to a dashboard. As you can see, there are no properties to effect within the designer. It's all done within the JavaScript file. So again, going back up to your custom folder, you'll find a script folder, and in there custom.js. Again, can be edited with Notepad or anything else. We will supply you with the relevant gmap link function, which is called by our pages, together with some standard functions which affect all the drill down. And what is required is to add statements within the gmap link function that apply to the relevant item. So for the first item, the London Borough, we want it to drill to a particular dashboard, and we do this by finding the ID of the item that we're drilling from, which, as you know, is here. We also need to know the dashboard item. Well, we are going to a particular dashboard called Regional Student, and there you will find the ID. And the final thing we need is the filter we're going to effect with the parameter, which again, the ID is read-only and easily found. With those three IDs, we simply add them into the relevant part of an if statement. So we check whether the item ID is found, and if so, we pass it the dashboard ID, filter ID, and then call GM to dashboard, which is a function we supply, and as long as you pass it those relevant parameters, your chart will drill accordingly, so you don't need to worry about the intricacies of the JavaScript. And there it is working. And as you can see, it passes the relevant postcode from whatever you've clicked on to that filter. With regard to the other item, we actually want to drill from this particular Google map to another item rather than a dashboard. And the process is very similar. We need to know the item we are drilling from, where we get the particular item ID again, and we also need to know the item we're drilling to. We need both of these to enter into another if statement. So basically, if it isn't the first item, we check to see if it's this second item, and if it is, we need to know the item ID that we want to go to, which you will find in the standard way by going to the designer and finding the item ID. The other item that is required within that JavaScript is whether or not you want to pop up or replace, and again it calls a standard function we supply for you, GM2item, which allows you to either replace or pop up and specify a pop-up. The alert at the bottom is the default action, so if you don't do any of this, it will simply pop up the information that you have before the two special characters, and there it is, all working. Thank you for your time. Hopefully it's been useful.